Mm-hmm.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Breath Talks. And today I am here with Katia Boustani, who is a master breathwork and spent a lot of time with Leonard Orr. But first of all, you were introduced to breathwork through Sondra, was it?
No, I was introduced to breathwork first of all, I did years of yoga. And so I was really familiar with breathwork, pranayama, and different techniques. And I had a really great teacher who emphasized breathwork a lot. And so every single yoga session, we would do at least 15 to 20 minutes of breathwork to get into that state of total relaxation so that our body didn't have any resistance in it. And so I understood a lot of the concepts about breath work way before it. Plus, I studied shiatsu and body work. And so when you're working with the body, the breath is extremely important.
Yeah.
And I could feel how, whenever my breath was working together with the breath of whoever I was giving a session to, that a connection happened, which was completely different. It went to, it shifted to another level. And so it wasn't just a physical experience anymore. It became a kind of spiritual experience. And so I was really into breath work. And that's why when John Stamoulos came to Mykonos.
John!
Yes, right.
Okay, right.
Yeah. When he came to Mykonos, one of my friends, there's this guy on the island and he does this therapy, which is just breathing. And I said, wow, that sounds interesting, because I was already really into the breathing. And so I went along and I met John, and that was an incredible experience. I had a beautiful session, which was very meaningful to me at the time, because even though I looked like I had the perfect life, so I was living in Mykonos, I was married, I had 2 children, we were quite reasonably, abundant. We had an abundant lifestyle, and, everybody wanted my life in a way. Within me, I was still really, really miserable and searching, so yoga had done its trick with taking the edge off a lot of the stuff on a daily basis. But the truth is that even though I was a really a person who read a lot of stuff on spirituality, I still hadn't gone through the process of mastering my mind, So of course I knew that breath could get me to that space between my thoughts. But when I was actually thinking, my thoughts were really, punishing towards myself. And so I had my first breathwork experience with John, and I thought that this is an amazing experience. And soon after, a group of us got together here in Greece, and we invited John back, and we did our first breathwork training with John. And so that was incredible. That was a really, really intense experience, 18 days of breathing every day, and starting at 9 a.m. and finishing at 11 p.m. And, it was my first real experience of that deep immersion of going into myself. And it was very, on the one hand, it was very enlightening. On the other hand, there was a lot of suffering because of the resistance to all of these concepts. And so, soon after that, as soon as we did that, finished that with John, the next person was Sondra. And then after that, Fanny Van Leer and Leonard, which were really the biggest influences for me in the breathwork journey.
And it is a journey. And this is what a lot of breath workers don't realize, that they think they've done 10 sessions and they've mastered it.
No.
I mean, I've got to laugh with people that go, I've done 10 sessions, I'm breathing into oneness.
And I'm a breath master, right? They say, right? So a lot of people say that they're a breath master, but I remember that Leonard said, Leonard used to always say, where's the mastery in giving a session to a group? Where's the, so mastery is really an individual sort of merging or exchange with somebody and an ability to guide their breath in a way which is going to give them the optimal experience. It's like the difference between giving a yoga class to 100 people and then giving a yoga class to one person, and being able to just move their arm 1 inch and have that incredible change that happens within the body with that tiny little move that you wouldn't have been able to observe if you were working with a group.
And this is what's so important. It's the inner transformation that you have.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so how did you transform? In your first few years of doing it?
Wow, that was a massive transformation. I mean, there was a lot of chaos there, even though, because on the one hand, I knew about these concepts. I knew about my breath. I was getting more and more familiar with my breath and having more of a relationship with my breath. But on the other hand, I was so used to a certain lifestyle. I was so used to drama. I was so used to intensity. I would say intensity.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Hey, that's our scorpionic thing, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. And totally. And so this intensity was driving me in one direction, but there was a depth to the breath work and to the mind mastery, which was grounding me at the same time. And so half the time, I mean, it was like putting my foot on the accelerator and putting my foot on the brake at the same time. It was like, a total chaos for a couple of years there, at least a couple of years. But the good thing was that I was so passionate about it. I believed so much in it. Plus, surrounded by a group of people who, or a few people who felt the same way. And so, the learning continued. So I went seminar after seminar after seminar, and it was so wonderful to just also, another thing I recommend to everybody out there is that it's amazing to experiment with lots of different therapies and try out really you should do it. But when you stick with one thing, it's only when you stick with one thing that you understand depth. Because you go deeper, deeper and deeper and deeper. It's not like your mind is entertained by trying different things and having these incredible experiences of this, that, or the other.
And this is another big problem, is that we went to the lectures, we heard the material, our mind knows it, but our whole being doesn't until we do the work. And it's continuous. And that's why we say do it over again and again, because you will never really get it until
well even sometimes even now I don't get it. Right. It's such a miracle journey, because the journey within is just as extensive as the journey without. Right. So if you think that the outside of you is totally infinite and there's universe beyond universe beyond universe, it's exactly the same as what's going on inside of you. Right. There's universe beyond universe beyond universe. And so I remember this one affirmation that Leonard used to always say, that my body is a material cloak, right, which separates this or which gives the illusion of separation from the universe, from the inner universe with the outer universe, right? But the truth is there is no separation. And we know that because, quantum physics is saying, we're just energy, right? All of us are just, everything is just energy. And so, the more that I read quantum physics and get into it, the more I understand also some of Leonard's more advanced affirmations, right?
Yeah.
So Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually really experiencing the hologram.
Oh,
And
right.
we've talked about this before when we talk about
Uh-huh.
past lives, are they past, or is it just a hologram where everything is happening all at the same time? And I'm
Yeah.
really feeling that, particularly having traveled back to the UK from the US and stepping outside and regaining my power. And this is
Right.
what this whole thing is about, is power, isn't it? Breath work and this reality.
100%. It's all about creating the reality that you want to live in. That's the bottom line, right? So the thing is that you can't create a reality that you want to live in if you don't know who you are, okay? Because every time you change, the reality that you want to experience becomes different, right? So until you really, really do the work, go deeper and deeper and understand who you are and what's important to you. And usually the surprising thing is that the deeper that you go within, the more that you are into simplicity, right? Your manifestation doesn't need to be so wild anymore when there is simplicity, because all of the satisfaction, all of the things that you desire, you discover that they're really right there. They're inside you. And, it's very easy once you understand it to have this reflection on the outside of you, because of course, as Kira says, it's a hologram, right? So you're the nucleus of the hologram, and whatever is on the outside of you is just a reflection of your perception of what is there. Because of course there's lots of parallel universes that you can live, which is one of the exciting things about to contemplate, right?
Absolutely. I haven't seen it yet, but I've been watching outtakes from the new Matrix movie. It's just fantastic.
Wow.
About we are all fictions.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's so interesting. And if you're the type of person who is really satisfied, like you love it, it's juicy. Okay, so when you start to go within and you start to read all of this stuff, sometimes it can be well, sometimes it's very confusing, right? Like there's a lot of things I read that I don't understand. Of course, you can't understand them until you get to a level of being able to let go of that cognitive dissonance, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, when I remember reading, when I was much younger, before I went into the breathwork journey, and I read and I read and I read, because I was a bit of an intellectual snob. So it was all about reading and understanding for me. And it was so exciting, right? Yeah. But now I read the same books and I've got a completely different perspective. I understand them, right? So Kira, that's what happened. It was a beautiful journey. It's an ongoing,
continuing.
So
and this journey, because you were in Greece, led you to this fantastic island of Samothrace.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell people a bit about what got you there and how did you experience, because this is so important to the journey.
Absolutely. Well, I'm very blessed because I had the courage when I was younger, in a generation where, a woman going out and creating her life and ignoring the social norms, was really shunned in many ways by society. Like everybody wanted to do it, but when you actually did it, it was really shocking, right? So it wasn't like things are now. And that's the incredible thing about the whole thing with Rebirthing and Leonard, was that he didn't care about social norms. He would just get out there and shock the hell out of everybody, and he didn't care if or not, he just off, right?
Yeah, and you did that.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I really loved about him, because I would sit there, I mean, it was so entertaining and so funny, right? So I had, I was always very magical and intuitive inside of myself. I always had that deep, desire to know more about what was going on that I couldn't see, that I couldn't understand, wanted to know. What I could see wasn't ever really important to me, So when I arrived in Greece, which was a kind of just a holiday experience in the beginning, there was something about this place which aligned with the depth that I wanted to experience.
Yeah.
Right. It was very, very special. And I felt actually like I'd come home. And many people think I'm Greek, but I'm not Greek. I'm Lebanese, actually. Right. Yeah. So
and brought up in Australia.
And brought up in Australia, which was an incredible experience also, because Australia does have that depth in its let's say in the primitive culture of it, right? But when you live in the city and you grow up in an environment, you don't get to experience those things. Yeah. I believe that, my experiences in growing up have led me to, understanding love, right? Because even though there was a lot of chaos in my family, there was also a lot of love. Yeah. Right. So anyway, back to Greece. So I arrived in Mykonos, which was back then completely different to what you know now. And the most important thing about Mykonos was Vilos, which was a little neighboring island, only half an hour in the boat. And that was the birthplace of Apollo, the sun god. So the thing about it was that there was all this mystery about it, and there was this feeling, it was an energetic site, and I used to love going there and spending time there. And I started getting into a different type of spiritual world than the one I grew up with, because the type of spiritual world that I grew up with had a lot of rules, right? And which made me feel very rebellious towards them. And so getting into spirituality in a way where I didn't really have to follow anybody's rules. I could just experience it, and that was beautiful and really wonderful. And after a while, especially after my marriage ended, I was looking for another place. Of course, I went to England, which I think is an amazing place. I had a great time in London. It was mostly for professional purposes. But then somebody told me about this island, Samothrace, where I now live. And a friend of mine actually in Mykonos, and he said to me, when you dive into the water of the waterfall, the water is so pristine that you open your mouth and you drink water as you're swimming, know. Yeah. And when you get out of the water, your body is vibrating with life energy. So this really made me interested. I was like, oh my God, this is like straight down my road, And I connected to a friend here. He connected me to a friend of his here, and that wonderful person told me all of the history of the island. So Samothrace had the Kavirian mysteries, so they're mysteries that have never been revealed. And there's a whole mythology around those mysteries. But in a way, I understood that these mysteries were really like a psychotherapy seminar. They were really like a self-development seminar. I mean, that's what I started to understand.
That's what they are. They are breaking down the ego.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, anyway, I came to visit this place. And from the moment that I stepped my foot here and I saw these incredible trees and nature, waterfalls, and I started to learn about the history of the island. And, which it's too much now to talk about, but really, really was connected with this divine mother energy.
Yeah.
Okay. So the feeling you're embraced by the divine mother and you can rest now, that's the feeling I got here. And so I decided to start doing seminars here. And a couple of years later, I moved here, and it's incredible, Kira. I don't know what to say to you. It's you've
the
been
water, like when you get into the water, it's alive, and it makes you cannot help but feel alive when you come out of it. I mean, it is just incredible. But I remember you telling me about it slows you down, and this is sort of an important concept.
Huge. Yes, absolutely. So, sometimes, well, people's stuff really comes up when they have to slow down, because most people are into a habit, they're into a routine, and the mind loves habit. And so the routine is their comfort zone. And so when you get here, it's not just that there's, in a way, nothing to do, right? But somehow the energy of the island isn't aligned with rushing. So when people rush, they have accidents. We've seen it over and over again. You have to slow right down. And when you are sensitive to this energy, what happens is that you arrive, and then all of a sudden you feel exhausted. And all you want to do is sleep, 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 rest, sleep, until that amount of rest brings you into the present moment, because you're not occupying yourself with doing stuff all the time, right? And when you get into alignment with this energy, you really can manifest anything that you want. I mean,
oh my goodness, I can vouch for that. It's like you think of it and then
absolutely it happens, and it's so special and beautiful. And I really hope that all of you get to experience it at some point. Come to one of our seminars or learn about the breath, and because there's all of this breathing in nature, because breathing aligns you with what is outside of you. So the inside of you is aligned with the outside of you, right?
The breath of life is vital. It's vital, to everything. And so what I found is that breath work has exploded, and there's all these pop-up versions of breath work, which are great because they're getting people to connect with their breath, but maybe not connect the breaths. But traditionally it's a one-on-one experience where you're really moving through resistance.
Right, absolutely. And it really I think that all of the pop-up breath work is incredible, right? I'm very, 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 very pleased that everybody has a chance to access breath work now, because breath work and rebirthing was a niche. It was something which, especially when I started in the early days to introduce it to people who were in the corporate world or business people who were very, very interested in their breath. But, the connection to all of that hippie sort of mindset made them believe that it was, it gave them a lot of resistance to trying it. Let's put it that way. But once they tried it, it started to spread to people who needed scientific proof that this works, right? And so, the incredible thing about, all of these little pop-up breathwork systems that are coming up is that they are, in a way, an introduction, to going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into yourself. And the reason that we believe that rebirthing breathwork technique, which is conscious connected breathing, so that means there's no pause between the inhale and the exhale, and it's like a circle, right? We believe that the actual spiral of this technique, so there's no stopping, there's no starting, there's no changing the breath, there's nothing really. Just by breathing in and out through your nose in a circular way, you can get there. right? And I personally believe that it's the spiral, which is something which is a universal emblem of merging. Okay. And you know, this spiral of breathing and going back to the way that you breathed when you were a baby.
Yeah.
And your breathing mechanism wasn't impeded. So the combination of those two things, I don't know, I have never been deeper in any process
yeah,
in rebirthing.
and
okay.
and I found going back to the purity of the
Yes.
technique was so important.
Yes.
You know, we don't need all the bells and whistles going on,
Nothing.
because that's distraction, and it really is about getting through the resistance, releasing your breathing mechanism, and if you're lucky enough, re-experiencing your first breath.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this is the whole thing about the truth, simplicity, and love.
Yes.
It's you know, your mind, people's mind, like even with science. Okay, so science is disproved every few years. So everybody believes in something. They're really passionate about it and they think that it's the right way and everything. A few years later, they discover, oh no, it wasn't that way after all. Right. So the thing about this particular technique, and that's why I believe that people go and they do breath work in different, you know, different types of modalities, and then they end up with us. Okay. Yeah. And that's not saying that we're any different to any of the other schools. All of the schools have an incredible value. So try any form of breath work. It doesn't really matter. But when people's mind has been entertained enough, and then they want to go beyond their mind, really beyond their mind, so to that depth of commitment, of really getting, you know, real transformation, really really changing, really understanding themselves, they end up coming to you know, a school which teaches rebirthing, because the wonderful thing about rebirthing is that it's this incredibly simple breathing technique, the purity of the technique. You don't need anything else. You don't need to change. You don't need music. You don't need anyone to touch you. You don't need anything. It's so pure. Okay. Like the purity of a baby.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, the mind mastery, which is incredible. But yeah, you can learn mind mastery in a lot of schools now. Okay. But one of the most important things that it has
together
is the elements, you know, the elements work, right? Feeling merged with the elements and connecting with them at that level makes you realize how big and how small you are at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so it brings you a beautiful humility and joy. That you don't need to be the one who's controlling anything.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and
right?
I find that you know, I'm a scientist originally, but what breath work brought to me was letting go of that, because we don't need all the scientific explanations of what is going, like oxygen, carbon dioxide balance. When you let go, when you can break through the resistance and have that fantastic experience with spirit, you don't need all that other stuff.
So, well, it's meaningless.
Yeah.
Like when you get to a real connection with spirit, it's all meaningless. The only thing that has meaning is your beautiful connection at that moment.
Yeah.
You know, it overtakes any meaning that you've given to anything else. It's so profound that all fear drops.
Yeah.
You see, so the need for explanation comes from fear, actually. You know, wanting to control what's happening, right? So I need to control it, so I have to explain it. Once I explain it, I feel safe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is really like diving into the deep end and having the be spirit.
Oh, I just lost you
let
diving
yourself
into the deep end.
Oh, that's okay. Am I back?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So diving into the deep end and aligning with spirit.
Yes.
And
trust. It's all about trust.
Yes, absolutely. So, Kira and I both teach rebirthing, and we have our own way. But the truth is that even though we put a little bit of science in there just to satisfy people, the goal isn't the science. The goal isn't understanding it. The goal is experiencing it for yourself and letting all of that out the window. It's unimportant.
And I love it when I get doctors and then they have they're not expecting it at all, and I don't preempt them. I just take them through the technique and let them have the expanded experience of love, throughout their body or whatever it is that they need. And they're like, afterwards, you've got to let them get to that experience.
100%. And I think really one of the things that we should mention is that the wonderful thing about this work is that once you have reached that place inside of yourself, which just takes a few sessions really, for some people, for other people who've got a big lack of trust, it might take longer. But once you have reached that place of trust inside of yourself, you can give yourself sessions. So it's very empowering, because you're not relying on someone else anymore. This is why it's a really, really, really great tool. Because after a while, very liberating. You don't need your therapist, you don't need anybody, because you're able to access the breath, go inward, and then the breath itself, actually your insides give you the answers. You don't need to go to a therapist or anything. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are thinking, even therapists out there who are thinking, oh my God, what is she saying? But, in rebirthing and, in the sort of work that we do, our goal is to liberate the person from us.
And make the realizations themselves. I mean, it's so beautiful when you've got people in a training and they're starting to work it all out themselves. And it's like, how perfect is that? I mean, that's what the governments don't want.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what this time is all about, is reclaiming our personal power.
100%. 100%. And this is why, the more that you love your body, because the thing is that imagine, it's difficult to imagine if you've never had a breathing session. But imagine that you're drinking a glass of water and you are actually aware of that water not only going into your mouth and going down your throat and that kind of cold feeling it may give you, but you are actually able to follow the journey of this water going through your body into all of the cells and actually nourishing them. So it's a similar feeling with breathing. You feel the breath going into your body, and in the beginning, of course, there's always a little bit of resistance, even when you are an experienced breath worker. And you start to feel this sort of like flush of, energy, but imagine it like liquid, and it starts to go through your body, but then you are able to follow it and feel what it's doing in every single cell. And when you are able to complete this journey without fear and in full surrender, you start getting to know your body. You get your body in a way that nobody can tell you if you're sick, right? Because you already know if you're sick. Your breath is like giving yourself a scan. It will go into all of the areas of your body, and you'll have this incredible awareness of something not being right or something being more than right. Okay. And this awareness and knowledge of your body makes you love your body in a way that is very true. You know, you're in love with your body, you're in love with your breath, you're in love with yourself, you're in love with life. This is what's so incredible about, you know, rebirthing and breath work, right? And so, you know, you have this spiritual experience. And then there is a big resistance sometimes if somebody says to you, for example, you know, you've got to, you know, be vaccinated for ABC reasons or whatever, or if something just doesn't seem logical to you, you know, you start to trust your body so much that you really understand deeply that any sort of pharmaceutical product is interference. Okay. And you don't want interference, you want alignment.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is where all of these sort of ways of thinking come from. And it's not that I have, you know, any disapproval of anybody who wants to go out and be vaccinated or whatever, you know, totally. And of course, there are people out there who need it. There are people out there who are not aligned with their body to that extent, right? But when you are aligned with your body to that extent, and you know, you don't want any form of interference in your body.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, so, you know,
Brilliant.
This love.
So 2022 is going to be a really exciting year for you because you've got something new to launch.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Sorry,
Kira.
2022 is going to be a very exciting year for you because you've got something new to launch.
I have. I'm really, really super excited. I'm launching a kind of new branch of rebirthing, you know, let's say, called Rebirth Breath Therapy. And a lot of people say to me, well, you know, rebirthing isn't a therapy. And, you know, I've worked with so many people for so many years. You know, maybe some people wouldn't define it as a therapy, but I have to admit that I have seen people change so much. I've seen people release so much grief, so many attachments.
Exactly.
You know,
it's so much more.
I've seen people heal. It's so much more than a therapy. Exactly. A therapy actually limits it.
Yeah.
Right. So the wonderful thing is that, you know, I am in my way trying to bring rebirthing into more. I'm trying to connect rebirthing more with modern times, younger people, you know, I'm trying to help people to understand it from a different perspective. And you know, I have a lot of love for this technique, and I'm adding in my own ideas and all of the things that I've covered, and all of the wonderful people around me, and some of the things that they have, you know, everything, almost everything. When you're aligned with a group of people, there's learning, right? We're learning from each other all the time. Yeah. And so, yes, we're launching mid-January, and, you know, we're going to have online courses, and we're going to be able to go to different places and teach this wonderful thing. But really the basis of Rebirth Breath Therapy, of course, is rebirthing. Yeah. You know, I mean, I love rebirthing, and I love Leonard Orr, and I love all of the wonderful people that I've met on that journey. Yeah.
And so you've got a webinar coming up as well.
Yes, absolutely. It's free. And it is on the 29th of December. And if you look me up on Instagram, Global Breathing Awareness, or on Facebook, Katia Boustani, you'll be able to find the link, or on LinkedIn. And you're all welcome to join, because I love to meet people. And it's going to be about manifesting a new reality through your breath, through breath mastery and mind mastery for 2022. And we're going to have a beautiful meditation. And, I think that also in these situations, there's the group dynamic, there's a beautiful group of people who really want to change their reality and the reality of the world. And so I hope to see you there.
So you can connect with Katia on globalbreathingawareness.com or rebirthbreaththerapy.com.
Exactly. And I really, really hope that we connect at some point. And I really value my beautiful friendship with Kira, who has come and spent time with us in Samothrace. And I
can't wait to come back.
Yes, I love you so much. And thank you so much, Kira.
Yeah. You're welcome. And thank you for joining us today, and really wish you all fantastic time in 2022 with your launch. Okay.
So